Katy Perry tried to uncancel herself, but every step she takes, she goes in the wrong direction. We'll talk about that and all the other pop culture news of the day. You're live with the guy every day at noon Central. I got my beautiful producer Nat over here.
Hello. I'm checking the sound levels.
Okay, she was a little bit distracted. Let's get into it. Let's actually.
Yeah, I'm producing your show. Sorry.
Don't get angry. It's a hard world trying to produce me, I know. Okay, let's go right into Katy Perry here. She did a land acknowledgement, and these land acknowledgements are getting really old, and it's really the wrong direction. But we'll talk about a lot of the other stuff. Katy Perry is really in the direction she's going with her career. It's the wrong direction. It's the opposite direction of what her ex-husband is kind of doing. So let's go into it.
But the same direction her current husband is going because she's forcing him, Orlando Bloom. Katy Perry's woke land acknowledgement explained fading pop star's anti-ICE message isn't an isolated moment.
And I was trying to fix my camera earlier. It was on autofocus. I always have it on manual. I don't know what button got hit, but I'll have to fix it after the show.
Bring the mic closer to your mouth.
Okay.
Thank you. Katy Perry, quote unquote, kissed a girl when it was cool, edgy, and different. The singer's 2008 debut. Oh, this is from Hollywood in Toto by Christine Toto. The singer's 2008 debut became a sensation and a new pop starlet is born. Now, the 40-year-old Katy Perry can't buy good press. Her recent astronaut stint got heckled across the pop culture landscape. Even fellow celebrities took pot shots at the trip. What is the point? Actress Olivia Munn said while co-hosting Today with Jenna and Friends on April 3rd. Is it historic that you guys are going on a ride? I think it's a bit gluttonous. Space exploration was to further our knowledge and to help mankind. What are they going to do up there that has made it better for us down here?
Okay, let's stop it right there. Yeah, she got a lot of backlash, number one, because it was this feminist journey to the stars, which they really did nothing but go up for like 30 seconds. That was number one. But number two, there's a lot of speculation that space trip was completely faked. We showed on here when it landed that the door wasn't actually sealed and things like this. So it was very strange. But that being said, there was double backlash for that space trip. She's still getting it to this day. But let's continue.
Perry's current Lifetime store suffered from similar blowback. She said she felt like a human piñata after the online meeting, including leaked clips from the failing tour. The numbers tell a larger story. Lifetime's ticket sales are down. Her 2024 album 143 also disappointed in sales department. Critics aren't too kind either. Pitchfork dubbed the disc a spectacular flop. Should I just move to what she actually did?
Yeah, let's move to what she actually did. But this is what I was kind of saying. And a lot of people were kind of saying no, her tour. My freaking camera today. My God. That being said.
Where's Guy?
I'm trying to get it to focus. But,
well, you're always criticizing the quartering.
I always have my camera on manual focus. And now today, of course. But a lot of people were contradicting me when I said she's not popular, she's over the hill, and her ticket sales aren't as spectacular as she's making them out to be. And now that's kind of emerging as the case from her world tour. Okay, let's continue here.
So what's a gal to do? Why go woke, of course, and it's hardly the first time. Could that explain Perry's recent foray into the LA riots and battles to enforce immigration laws? So where is it what she did? Okay. So she waded into the matter by playing the land acknowledgement card. She shared several messages attacking ICE and pushing for open, unfettered borders. This was once Mexican land, and the people being targeted today are often descendants of those who have lived here for generations or who came seeking safety, work, and dignity. The people here, especially the brown and indigenous people, have always been here, planting roots, building lives, raising families, and now in 2025, the descendants of those same communities are being hunted like criminals in their own ancestral home.
Oh.
She also promoted hashtags like abolish ICE and no human is illegal.
Okay, and let's talk about this a little bit. We broadcast from Mexico City. And
I'm Mexican.
And yeah, Nat is Mexican. So I'm very sensitive to this issue. I understand, yeah, it's Mexican land at one point, but every border in the world was somebody else's land, and there was bloody wars to make these borders. Unless we want to go to more wars, we shouldn't be trying to have these land acknowledgements that lead to the confiscation of land. This is actually going on in Canada, where we're from. They started with land acknowledgements for over 15 years now. That's now leading into the government actually giving large portions of Canada to the Native Americans.
Native Canadians.
The Canadians to the Native Canadians.
Yes.
That being said, they're going to try the same thing here. They want to try to give land back to Mexico. It's not going to happen in the States, and it's only going to lead to a major conflict between the cartels and the U.S. government. So these land acknowledgements are really not a good idea, especially when it comes to California. It's not going to lead to anything good. It's just virtue signaling on her part to try to save her career. She's gone into these LA protests, these land acknowledgements, this LGBTQ rhetoric that she's constantly virtue signaling with. She did a climate change commercial with UNICEF, and it was really, really cringe. As well as she could have learned from Russell Brand, but maybe she kind of did. Russell Brand went the opposite direction of her and really made what seems to be a genuine and sincere, authentic change at his core. The problem with that, the change he did make kind of went against the establishment, and they're trying to prosecute him in court for a lot of, in my opinion, made up charges because they don't like his political opinions. She's trying to take the easy path and just double and triple down on woke, but the culture is shifting. And I think that's what is hurting her career, not just on the world tour, but the media backlash she's getting. Russell Brand gets mainstream media backlash, but he gets massive independent support. She gets massive mainstream support, but a lot of independent media backlash. So we're really getting to see the tug of war between mainstream media and independent media between these two, that being Russell Brand and Katy Perry.
But also with Katy Perry, and I'll just show this from Dan Crenshaw, not that I super like him, but if ancestral land claims are valid, as Katy Perry insists, the Chumash tribe has a pretty strong case for her 15 million Montecito estate. She also said, Los Ángeles, a place that literally began as El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora de la Reina de Los Ángeles de Porciuncula. I don't even know how to say
I thought you spoke Spanish. I thought you were Mexican.
Porciuncula. That's weird. Founded by Mexican settlers in 1781. Yeah, who owned that before that? And it wasn't Mexican settlers.
What?
So Mexico as a country, as an independent country, only owned California and Texas and that whole portion they keep talking about for 25 years. Before that, it was under Spanish rule. So should we return it to the Spanish after? Like, is Mexico supposed to give it back to the Spanish that conquered?
Well, we can't go back in all of history and refight these borders. If we do, it's going to be unlimited wars. We've talked about it on our night show a lot yesterday. And if you want to see it tonight, it's at 9:15 Central, right back here where we talk politics. But with this Iranian conflict coming up and the Ukrainian conflict coming up, these border wars, people are willing to go to war for their borders. So these land acknowledgements is really step one before trying to declare an actual physical assault on a country.
But for me, it's funny that they're asking for it to come back to Mexico and to give it back to us when it was Spanish for way longer, almost 300 and something years.
I don't want to get kind of bogged down in the nitty gritty.
But then,
what
Dan Crenshaw is saying, the 15 million Montecito estate, Katy Perry actually went on a court whole thing with nuns to get one of the houses, and then she also went against an elderly veteran to get another of her houses. So she's one to talk about acknowledging who was in the land
this was a big thing with her and Orlando Bloom, kind of in a way, in my opinion, kind of stealing houses from people by taking them to court, and they had the money for lawyers. The people that were trying to take these houses and these lands from didn't have houses, and this was for purely profit in their own personal houses. It's not like she was trying to hire these lawyers to take the land back and give it to poor people. It was strictly a profit gain for her and her husband. Okay, let's go into the next story, which is Kathleen Kennedy, one of the most despised people in Hollywood. Maybe we should make a video about her.
I already did in Spanish.
How did it do?
Not that good.
Not that good. Okay, let's talk about her though.
So from Variety, Academy members cringe as Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy lobbies for Bob Iger to receive an honorary Oscar. AMPAS branches see conflict in awarding the Disney CEO who presides over Oscar's broadcast partner ABC.
Yeah, and this is a bit ridiculous. Bob Iger getting an Oscar is like me getting an Oscar for my YouTube videos. It's just, it would be cringe and insane. This would be step one for Kathleen Kennedy herself trying to get an Oscar. If she can get an honorary Oscar for Bob Iger, she can get somebody to put her up for it. And she's done nothing but ruin franchises. It's the same with Bob Iger. So let's read a little bit about it, actually.
In Star Wars, the Force is a mystical energy field that can be harnessed into supernatural powers by a chosen few. In Hollywood, it's called leverage. Kathleen Kennedy, president of Star Wars creator Lucasfilm, certainly knows how to use the Force, specifically within the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. The producer executive has been ardently lobbying members of the group to obtain an honorary Oscar for her Disney chief Bob Iger for insiders with knowledge.
Well, that's one way. That's one way for her to try to keep her job, maybe. I mean, she has been on the razor's edge for years now.
But she already announced her retirement. And they're already kind of announcing who might replace her.
Yeah, but it's not really a retirement. So let's not try to lie to the people that are watching the show right now. Yeah, she announced a retirement, but she's still going to be connected to all these shows behind the scenes. And they've already there's been rumblings of that as well. So this is a retirement from Lucasfilm, but not a retirement from these projects as a whole. She's still going to remain attached to a lot of these Star Wars franchises behind the scenes.
Well, if it's like when Bob Iger retired, he came back 2 years later to take it back, or 3 years later to take it back from, what was his name?
She's trying to get a puppet master position here where she can work from within the shadows, because maybe she's getting too much backlash when she's kind of out front in the production light. Okay, let's continue a little bit, and then we'll go into the next story.
Kennedy has reached out to select players at the board level inside AMPAS, encouraging them to recommend one of the annual honors go to Iger, the man who secured Marvel, Pixar, and Lucasfilm for Disney's war chest of intellectual property, selling billions of dollars worth of movie tickets in the process. No. All branches of the Academy have been active in recent weeks, meeting about new membership matters, and Kennedy has used the opportunity to schmooze on Iger's behalf. So groveling.
Yeah. Okay, we can
move on. It is
on.
what most of these feminists end up doing anyways.
Oh, yeah. And she tried to feminize Star Wars, Disney, and the entire franchise, and in the process completely destroyed the IPs, and their other IPs are getting bad rubs as well. So.
And now speaking about Bob Chapek, who unceremoniously stepped down so Iger could come back. Apparently, Iger was still using his office in the Disney building after he retired, so he was still a presence within Disney even when he was not supposed to be there.
Well, I don't want to get too much into conspiracy theories here, but it seemed like he called the Jibby Jab era perfectly. Left as the company collapsed from the nation being shut, and then came back when it reopened. And of course, the numbers are going to go straight up after it's been shut for a couple of years.
And then he blamed everything on Chapek, including the DeSantis Florida thing.
Okay, let's continue on here.
From Deadline, Universal swoops into Cine Europe with fresh Jurassic World Rebirth, and Wicked for Good clips touts Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan project.
Yeah, and this Cine Euro, there's quite a few stories I have today on this, and there were a lot of trailers and things revealed there. So Jurassic World Rebirth and Wicked, we've seen Jurassic World, and I wasn't too impressed by it because it was, Scarlett Johansson, and she really looked like she should have been in the role of the scientist, but they gave her the male role, trying to feminize the movie. She can somewhat pull off the role for a female. If you are going to put a female in there, I guess she's the best you're going to do, but it was obviously a masculine role meant for a man, and the scientist role was actually meant for a female, and they have a male scientist in the scientist role. So I'm not expecting too much from the movie, but we'll see what happens with it. As well as Steven Spielberg, and go back to the article really quick here so I can see it. Steven Spielberg and Christopher Nolan. Yeah, these are big names. And I think directors and writers is what Hollywood needs to focus on, and less so on actors. I think the directors and writers are capable of having far more of an impact on the movie than the actors themselves. Okay, why don't we read a little bit of this?
Hot off the nearly 200 million global opening of its live-action How to Train Your Dragon, Universal kicked off its Cine Europe presentation in Barcelona today with a different sort of soaring beasts, showing exclusive clips from its upcoming Scarlett Johansson star Jurassic World Rebirth, the Gareth Edwards-directed sci-fi adventure entry in the $6 billion plus grossing franchise. Starts rollout on July 2nd. I do kind of want to go see it because
Continue.
well, I'm terrified of dinosaurs.
Because they're real. I'm terrified.
Well, when they're in museums like live scale, they're very scary.
Well, you won't even go on a patio because you're scared of heights.
Yes. So dinosaurs make it worse. It's like heights with a terrifying thing on top of it.
That being said, this property is extremely important to Universal. Universal's good, has good management of their modern properties, like How You Train Your Dragon. It seems to be doing well. They have an entire world in the park based around that. Jurassic Park seems to be getting somewhat played out. So the fact that they transition their dragon property into How to Train Your Dragon, I think is a good thing. But this series is in need of a reset, and it's hard because it's always about a park and a world. It's much too big. It's hard to get real character development and things like this. But yeah, let's continue.
And of course, there was plenty of attention paid to Wicked for Good, the sequel to John M. Chu's 2024's $750 million global grossing fantasy musical. I thought it had made more.
I did as well.
This included an illuminated green balloon descending from the rafters.
I'm surprised it didn't hit $1 billion because it had a lot of hype at the time.
And it was Christmas. Well, Christmas-ish. This included an illuminated green balloon descending from the rafters into the auditorium and an exclusive behind-the-scenes look that was introduced by Chu. Is there a picture?
Well, and the talk is that this Wicked 2 is not looking nearly as good as Wicked 1. And they're thinking there's going to be a big fall off between the first edition and the second edition that's due to come out probably next year, I believe. Okay. Do you want to go into the next article here?
Sure. With Wicked, if it didn't reach $1 billion for the first one.
With all the controversy, hype, everything around it, it really hit headlines day after day after day. And man, $750 million, that's it?
And it's a very beloved musical. I mean, even me, who now hates all wokeness, I mean, I still like the musical.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of when I was younger, so... it's weird the musical theater kids didn't show up in droves. Or maybe they did, and there's just not that many of them anymore.
Well, maybe I just discounted the backlash for it because both actresses had major backlash. There was a big woke backlash against that movie, but you still wanted to see it even with the backlash because of its attachment to the original Wizard of Oz and things like that.
Yeah, and with
I figured people just went to watch it anyway because you wanted to watch it. But I guess $750 million is nothing to laugh at. It still made a lot of money, but it should have hit $1 billion. I think that backlash probably cost it $250 million.
And also, I mean, it was mostly targeted to a female and or feminized audience, so the alphabet community as well. And maybe the money in those communities is not as big as Hollywood keeps thinking it is.
Well, it's not. A lot of that is NGO money. But let's also remember that the woke backlash happening against Wicked was at the exact same time or right around the time that Snow White was coming out. Mm-hmm. So there was this huge media presence, which kind of started with Wicked about wokeness in Hollywood, and then it carried on to Snow White and absolutely crushed Snow White. So I think Wicked may have missed the worst of it, but still got a little bit of that rub.
But within Wicked, I mean, the storyline is kind of the beginnings of woke. That's when we started humanizing villains, essentially. That was one of the first intellectual properties that did it. But I don't think they stuck pretty well to the actual source material.
Yeah, but it's not about the source material, and you're looking puzzled here. It was nothing about that. That wasn't the backlash. It was the two main actresses that created the backlash for that movie. And we're seeing, even with Snow White, the backlash with Rachel Zegler, even though it had the double backlash because the movie changed its script. I think you're thinking, as long as it stays true to the source material, and that's not true. An actor can crush $1 billion movie based on some political statements they make. And that's why it's important for studios to really make sure these actors aren't making political statements. That being said, I think this is what's going to drive studios into AI. They're going to have complete control over not having to worry about what their actors are going to say on the verge of a release of a billion possible profit.
And with Wicked, I think most of the backlash, I mean, other than, what's her name? The one that played Elphaba. Well, the other actress. But Ariana Grande, her backlash was because, let's just say, she got entangled with SpongeBob. So that her fans were pretty angry at her for that.
Well, yeah, and it was just really scandal after scandal for those two actresses. The kind of interviews they were doing, they both were skinny to begin with, and they look like they got an Ozempic and look like skeletons. I mean, we were covering it nonstop. There was just controversy after controversy with that movie. Let's go into the next article, though, because I do got quite a few today.
Cynthia Erivo. Sorry. I remember the name. I had something to say about Universal.
Go ahead.
With Universal, it does seem like they're focusing a lot on properties that are also either want to expand or they already have within the parks. So
Yep.
Jurassic World is a huge, they already have huge rides for that in Orlando and I believe also California, but How to Train Your Dragon as well. And they could do, and they've already started with a lot of merch for Wicked. So
yeah, they're very aware of their parks and their IPs and how they work together. Somehow Disney's completely forgotten about this and they're destroying both their parks and their IPs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next.
Yeah, let's go into this now.
So from Deadline, Sony unleashes extended footage of 28 Days Later, screen scenes from Darren Aronofsky's Austin Butler star caught stealing at Disney Europe.
And yeah, I knew about 28 Days Later, and I was recently watching the making of 28 Days Later. This is 28 years later. I think it's the third installment of this, maybe the second, but the first one was really done on low budget cameras. They couldn't get proper exposure. It was really done extremely low quality intentionally because they wanted to have that rough, rugged feel of it, and they really pulled it off fairly well. Now, is this 28 years later going to do as good? I don't think it's going to be as good as the original. Maybe. They also had trouble with the funding. We had previously covered this, so they were recently at a film kind of expose where they were on stage talking about the film and they were trying to get funding to finish the editing and stuff of it. So that was pretty interesting. But that being said, can you please go to the top of the article again? The other movie, Caught Stealing, I had never heard of it. So when I was researching this article, I quickly went to YouTube and watched the trailer and it was phenomenal. I mean, if you like, I can't remember the movie. But it does look phenomenal. I watched it. I had never heard of it, and I was surprised I never heard of it. I do expect it to do well. As it gets closer, I'm going to keep updates on it. We may show the trailer as it comes closer to release date and things like that. Oh, if you like Train Spotting, it has a lot of Train Spotting vibes as well as a lot of other British action alternative action movies and things like that. I do highly recommend watching the trailer of Caught Stealing. It was a good trailer. I was impressed by it. So it made me want to go watch the movie anyway. Okay, we can move on here because I don't think you definitely haven't watched the trailer if I hadn't heard of it.
No, for neither.
Okay. Oh, but you did watch 28 Days Later, yes?
No.
Oh, you don't like zombies either?
No. No.
You look like a zombie when you wake up in the morning.
Thank you.
No problem.
So from Variety, streaming viewership surpassed cable and broadcast combined for the first time ever in May, Nielsen finds.
Yeah, and this is just confirming what we kind of already know. But Nielsen is having to finally kind of admit this. Streaming is only going to get bigger and bigger. And surprisingly, I would expect major studios to try to come in and make another YouTube style platform. I mean, Rumble attempted to do it, but it's really more based upon news and things. X is set up well, but they just don't have the infrastructure for long format video and things like this. YouTube is just dominating the streaming space market, and it doesn't have a real alternative competitor at this point. There's talks that Elon wants to make X that competitor, but it doesn't seem to be emerging because the way the infrastructure was originally programmed for X, I don't know if it lends itself well to that. So they may have to really from the ground up restructure the internal workings and the programming of X. Rumble is great for free speech, but it's not your everyday moderate platform. Moderates aren't going there. The structure of and the user interface of Rumble doesn't lend itself well to creators or users. So maybe if Rumble could improve, maybe if they had a major investor come in and really understand that they need to fix the interface, it could possibly become a alternative platform to YouTube. But we're going to talk later about Amazon really trying to monopolize the marketing end of streaming. That being said, Amazon does have, Twitch? Does have Twitch, but again, that's more based upon live streaming. I'm very surprised that a direct competitor to YouTube hasn't emerged at this point. Okay, let's continue on.
Do you want me to read it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, read a little bit of it. Sorry, I've talked so much about this subject matter that...
May was a banner month in the history of streaming. According to Nielsen's measurement of televisions in the US, mobile devices in other countries excluded, broadcast and cable viewing combined to make up 44.2% of all TV watched, while streaming surpassed them with 44.8%. While streaming has been the largest source of TV viewing for a long time now, this is the first time it has lapped the total of the other key categories. 10.9% of viewing fell into miscellaneous categories.
Yeah, and the majority of that streaming is done through YouTube. YouTube dominates that market, and they tried to rig the numbers for years, especially Disney, by limiting how much watch hours YouTube actually gets by not counting if it was watched on a phone. And the phone was where the major watch hours on YouTube are taken. So the fact that YouTube was dominating the market just based upon their TV views really shows... not their complete monopolization of the streaming market, but they definitely have the dominant share. And every other business model in streaming just doesn't compare to kind of where the future of multimedia is going. YouTube is really geared up and set to dominate the market over the next 10 and 20 years. Okay, let's go into the next article here.
So Rachel Brosnahan says actors should stand by their bad superhero movies from The Hollywood Reporter. The Superman star pushes back on actors who try to distance themselves from failed projects, do it or don't do it, and then stand by it.
Yeah, and who was that we reported on yesterday? Was that Dakota Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, she has really been trying to distance herself, not just from her superhero movies, but a lot of her other movies. She made a lot of bad decisions, I think, over the last 10 years with her movies, and she's trying to transition her career. She's making smart moves, but she's really burning the franchise and movies that gave her the chance and paid her millions. So if you make a bad movie, I think you should stand by it, but you should say, yeah, it's a bad movie, but I decided to do it. This is why I decided to do it. This is what I learned from it. Not just completely distancing yourself and just say, I went for it for a paycheck or whatever they're going to say. Okay, let's go into this article a little bit.
So Rachel Brosnahan has a message for actors who star in failed and embarrassing superhero movies. Own your hit. The actress who plays Lois Lane in James Gunn's upcoming Superman got on the subject of actors dissing their superhero projects during a recent Interview magazine chat with Amanda Seyfried. The exchange started with Seyfried saying about superhero movies, "That's the thing about these movies. You can feel it when people are doing it with passion and grace and curiosity."
Yeah, I've known a lot of actors, either bigger name actors, but a lot of small name actors, especially in Vancouver, and most actors are just out for a paycheck, aren't really invested in the movie or the movie making aspect of it. That being said, once in a while you do get people that are invested. The Rock in the Smashing Machine, which we showed yesterday, that trailer looked really good. But when actors are willing to take major pay cuts because they believe in the film, that's an indication that it's probably going to be a good film, or at least the actor is really invested. So I'm just unimpressed by actors nowadays. I would like to see a stream of actors really invest their own money in projects they believe in. And even if they're bad projects, if they come out and really promote them well and say, this is why I believed in this project, I think people will go watch it.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything for this?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of them are trying to backpedal and say, no, it wasn't me. But it also, I mean, at the end of the day, it is your performance as well. So if you know you did your best and then everybody else ruined it, then maybe yes, but I still don't think it's a super good look to come out and bash, what either made you famous or what gave you other opportunities, like the Harry Potter people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's go into Disney Amazon.
Hold on.
And this may look familiar from yesterday to some of you, but it's a little bit different.
So from Variety, Disney, Amazon impact to widen connected TV impressions for advertisers.
Okay, so the headline yesterday was Amazon Roku. And it's the same deal pretty much, or a very similar deal. Now today it's Amazon Disney. Amazon seems to be trying to monopolize the streaming advertising market through making these coalitions with Roku and with Disney. Amazon is the one consistent in these deals. So Amazon will have the best monopolization of the industry. I would expect them to either try to cut out Disney or Roku once they have more dominant market share within the advertising. Right now they're figuring it's an all boats rise situation, but we know how Amazon kind of works, and they like to monopolize the industries that they're absolutely in. And Amazon is best situated for this again because they don't care about the movies they make. They care about all their other businesses, and this is just a way to promote Amazon itself.
But with this thing in Amazon, like, isn't this Amazon the like shopping platform, not Amazon the content producer? Because I think this is so people can, like, things will pop up on your screen for things you can buy through Amazon. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but they're also connected with Disney and Roku for how they're going to advertise on streaming as well. They're trying to monopolize streaming advertisement on streaming services, as well as the other part that you just mentioned. So it's a multi-pronged approach from Amazon, and they have the most to benefit from all these business relationships. So let's read a little bit about it.
Add Disney to the list of companies trying to find new ways to broaden broadband for advertisers. The entertainment giant and Amazon have struck a partnership that will allow advertisers to buy up programmatic advertising inventory from Disney+, ESPN, and Hulu via Amazon's demand-side platform. The latest in a series of similar alliances unveiled this week. Amazon and Roku revealed a similar partnership on Monday, as did Netflix and Yahoo.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because Amazon, they have this weird approach because they're not a movie company first. So this really benefits them on a lot of levels. And this is just one contract. There's been a lot of co-deals that Amazon has been doing with Roku, Disney, and Netflix and things like this, not just to advertise on their platforms, but to dominate the advertising market within these platforms, almost like a monopoly. Okay, let's continue on then.
Read more into how it would work or no?
Yeah, you can. I keep up on the business side a lot, so we read a lot about these articles, but let's go a little bit more into the specific deal.
So the pact would give a pet food marketer, for example, the chance to reach viewers who both consume Disney content and have shown interest in pet products on Amazon. By tapping into the alliance, the companies believe marketers can reduce the number of ads they show to the same consumer and improve the effectiveness of commercials by distributing them with more precision. Blech.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to monopolize this advertising market because they want to cut out independent content creators from advertising from the big distributors. A big distributor's advertising dollars can go a lot further if they used 1,000 content creators rather than just a couple ads on these major streaming platforms. But we'll kind of see what happens here. I think their ultimate goal would be to cut out small streamers for direct advertisement. So small streamers would be kind of relegated to small companies. Okay, let's continue on here.
So from Deadline, AI Barbie, Mattel, and OpenAI team up for smart toys and games.
And I'm not liking this. We kind of seen this with Darth Vader AI in the video game and him saying crazy things. I don't want to give AI to my kids within their toys. There has already been a ton of messaging installed into these AIs. So who knows what they're going to say to your kids and things like this.
So toymaker Mattel is teaming up with OpenAI to develop AI-powered products and experiences based on Mattel brands. The Barbie, Hot Wheels, and Polly Pocket creator says it will use OpenAI's technology to bring the magic of AI to age-appropriate play experiences with an emphasis on innovation, privacy, and safety. Their first product is expected to be announced later this year. As part of the deal, Mattel says it will also incorporate OpenAI's tools such as ChatGPT Enterprise into its business operations to enhance product development and create ideation, drive innovation, and deepen engagement with its audience.
Yeah, I think this is going way too far. And I have defended AI in some moderate spaces, but this is not one space I want to see AI go, is not into toys. Let kids try to drive their own imagination, play with classic toys that are going to educate them, not with AI messaging involved in this.
And with so much technology. I mean, they're already surrounded by it. They will continue to be surrounded by it, and putting it kind of face first when they're little.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
And the next story was a sad story. This kind of popped up, and I said, oh, wow, I had never seen this actor before we watched Lilo and Stitch, but he was one of the most beloved characters in the movie, even though it was an extremely small role. It had an impact because he added a lot of the genuine comic relief.
So Lilo and Stitch actor David Hekili Kanui Bell passes away at 46, was and will remain a bright and shining star.
Yeah, and obviously my guess would be because of his weight. He was a big guy. I used to live in Hawaii with a tribe over there in the mountains for a little while, and a lot of people are this big. Processed foods in Hawaii were not a good thing. It's the number one place in the world where that consumes the most spam. Spam manufacturing is also done, a lot of it in Hawaii. So it's just a shame that we lost this gentleman at such a young age. Okay, why don't we read a little bit about it though?
So Hawaii police tell people in an exclusive statement that Bell passed away on June 12th and no foul play is expected. David Hekili Kanui Bell, who appeared in the live-action remake of Disney's Lilo and Stitch, has passed away. His sister, Jeline Kaneli Bell, confirmed the news on her Facebook account. Police confirm no foul play. That's about as much as we know. Okay,
let's kind of move on. And I think the next story is going to be Mark Cuban and Blue Sky. And I think we may have talked a little bit about this before.
Yes, so this is from Fox News. Yes, I know, Fox News. Mark Cuban says liberal alternative to X has become hateful due to leftist groupthink. Social media platform Blue Sky saw massive growth after 2024 election as anti-Trump users sought refuge.
Yeah, and let's just talk a little bit about the statistics before we get into the article, and I completely agree with them. Blue Sky, I was trying to think of the name. Blue Sky has about 3.5 million daily users. I think they have a total of around 30 million total users, but only 3.5 on a daily basis. X has over 200 million on a daily basis that are active, and a lot of these users are extremely active. Blue Sky kind of fell victim to the same thing I think Rumble falls victim to, and that's Rumble really went after a right-wing market. Blue Sky really went after a left-wing market, and they went on this political level, which kind of they neglected the mainstream user that doesn't want politics. And outside of the U.S., a lot of people aren't going to care about U.S. politics as much. So both Rumble and Blue Sky really focused on an American market based upon politics. And they really pigeonholed themselves into that. And they're both having trouble expanding out after that. Okay, let's read a little bit about the article though.
So billionaire Mark Cuban seemed to realize this week that liberal social media alternative to X, the platform Blue Sky, has become toxic and hateful because of the anger on display there. In a series of recent posts to Blue Sky, the business mogul lamented that people on the platform, the majority being liberals, have grown ruder and more hateful. Even if you agree with 95% of what a person is saying on a topic, if there's one point that you might call out as being more of a gray area, they will call you a fascist, etc. Cuban wrote. Yeah, and they've already kind of burned themselves, which is a shame because there might be a hole in the market over the next year or two because of what's happening in Iran. If
Trump decides to bring in censorship to kind of promote this war. I could see X bringing in censorship as well as YouTube. If that does happen, there may be a hole in the market, but again, they've already kind of pigeoned themselves into this liberal political brand. So, okay, we can kind of move on because we had covered that story once before. I just wanted to...
1 second.
And this is coming from CTV. And this has been all over progressive media, mainstream media, and not just this, but related issues like this. Let's read the headline and then I'll talk about it and then we'll read some of the article.
So from CTV News, state-sponsored media from Canada. We lived in Canada for a long time. So U.S. News consumers are turning to podcaster Joe Rogan and away from traditional sources, report says.
That's not true at all. They are turning to Joe Rogan for entertainment, and Joe Rogan gets his news from primarily X YouTube videos, alternative sources and things like that. And he very often brings the people and articles that interest him onto his show, and those people's platforms grow as well. So Joe Rogan has really created a space, not where he's kind of at the center, but he brings other people onto the show and exposes more people to it. And then those platforms grow. So he's built a whole alternative ecosystem kind of around him as the source that builds viewership for other audiences and other creators. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's continue on with the article.
Prominent podcasters like Joe Rogan.
Oh, 1 second. And I've been reading a lot of articles like this, and it's just pure propaganda. What was the point I was going to say here?
He used to be a Democrat.
He used to be.
Not a Democrat, a liberal.
They keep. I don't know if they're going to say it in this article, but most of the articles that are like this, and they gave him this yellow hue again with his skin. They keep doing that. When they did it during the Jibby Jab era, they made him look yellow, and he could have sued him. He should have. But that being said, Joe Rogan used to be a Democrat, and all of his views he espoused were Democratic. On his show, it was primarily Democratic guests at one point, and they really pushed him until he kind of flipped, and now he's a Republican or an independent with much more moderate views. Same thing with Trump. Trump used to be a Democrat as well. Now I'm having some disagreements with Trump on this Iran issue, but let's continue.
Prominent podcasters like Joe Rogan are playing a bigger role in news dissemination in the United States, as are AI chatbots contributing to the further erosion of traditional media, according to a report released on Tuesday. In the week following the January 2025 U.S. presidential election, more Americans say they got their news from social and video networks than from TV and news websites and apps. The first time the shift has occurred, the report said.
I don't see why this is a problem at all. But
it's a problem for the ones that are writing.
Well, it's been a problem for Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris as well. I was watching their interview. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, but it's produced by the Daily Wire. But you have James Lindsay, you have Jordan Peterson, you have Sam Harris, you have the Daily Wire, you have other platforms like the Daily Wire. You have a lot of personalities that are starting to become very pro-censorship, and the two things are really linked. The war that's kind of emerging in the Middle East, and the loss of control from the mainstream media to sell a homogenized narrative to the masses. People have different opinions, and they should be allowed to have different opinions and consume different media sources. Okay, let's continue on a little bit.
Traditional U.S. news media increasingly risks being eclipsed by online personalities and creators, the Reuters Institute for the Study of Journalism said in its annual digital news report, which is based on an online survey of almost 100,000 people in 48 markets, including the United States. The trend is particularly acute among young Americans. Over half of people under age 35 in the U.S. are relying on social media and video networks as their main source for news.
And let's just talk about this for a quick second. One of the main reasons they're relying on social media and independent news sources, and X can give you news instantaneously. That's number one, why people are going to X, but people are going to YouTube because you have long format people on the ground that will just stream for hours so you can get a real depiction of what's going on the ground, not a narrative that the mainstream media wants to sell you. That's the base level. So people are going to X for instant news, YouTube for long formatted, unedited content. And then from there, they're already on the platform. So they'll look for other opinions and things to stack upon that.
But it's also funny who they're going to highlight. So across the countries that the report surveyed, 44% of people aged 18 to 24 said these networks are their main sources of news. 1/5 of sampled group of Americans came across news or commentary from podcaster Rogan in the week following the presidential inauguration, while 14% of respondents said they had come across former Fox News anchor Tucker Carlson discussing or commenting on news during that period.
Yeah, we also have to remember that Joe Rogan is very moderate and down the middle. He tried to have Kamala Harris and other Democratic politicians on the show. They just didn't want to come. Tim Dillon yesterday, I was talking about his interview on CNN, which was an hour and 10 minutes. Phenomenal interview because the person that was doing the interview was so ideologically biased, it almost made it funny. And the fact that Tim Dillon was so polite to the interviewer was just a good dynamic to see. That being said, she was asking him, does he feel bad for interviewing J.D. Vance? And he's like, well, I asked other politicians to come on the show. They just refused to come on. So,
but also it's interesting what creators they're highlighting, because I mean, a lot of them, like Tucker and Megyn Kelly, are former traditional news reporters or journalists as well. And then they're also saying top creators during that period also included Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, and Ben Shapiro on the political right, and Brian Tyler Cohen and David Pakman on the left. The vast majority of the most followed commentators who discuss politics are men, the report found. And this is from the Institute for the Study of Journalism, but they're not calling them independent journalists. They're calling them creators, which is they continue to try to do this divide because they're scared of calling them actual journalists.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because this divide's going to change. Right now, they're focused on, the right wing, so they're lumping all the right wing creators together, all the independent creators together. As this conflict in the Middle East emerges more and more, there's a huge divide on the right. So what's going to happen? The mainstream media is going to start promoting some of these right-wing creators because they're with the narrative of wanting to escalate what's going on over there. And there's a huge anti-war contingent on the alternative media side, and they're going to continue to be pushed even further out. At least this is what I would expect to happen. Same on the left. Some people on the left are going to be pro-establishment. Others are going to be anti-establishment. And I think that's going to be the new divide. It was left and right for the past decade. It's going to become establishment and anti-establishment based upon, are you in support or against the conflict in the Middle East? Okay, let's continue on.
With the same article, or?
Oh, I think it's the final article of the day. Oh no, I have 2 articles left.
So, back to this trial. From the BBC, juror dismissed in Diddy trial over inconsistencies.
So yeah, they lied about where they were from on a consistent basis. The judge found out about it, threw him out for that. This is not going well for Diddy. It was suspected that juror was a sympathizer for Diddy. So if he only need one juror to have a hung jury, and I don't think that's going to happen now.
Yeah. A juror in the moving people from one place to another without their consent trial of rapper Sean Diddy Combs has been removed after giving inconsistent answers about where he lives. During jury selection, the juror indicated on a questionnaire that he lived in the Bronx area of New York, but more recently he told a court staffer that he moved in with his girlfriend in New Jersey. On Friday, Judge Arun Subramanian said he found several inconsistencies between the juror's answers in court transcripts, which he said could suggest a desire to be deceptive in an effort to get on the jury.
And we had talked about this. A lot of progressive activists have been training other activists to get on juries and things like this in order to kind of influence verdicts and influence jurors. If they can't get the result they want, they can at least get a hung jury. So,
and a similar thing happened in the Weinstein case, also in New York, I believe.
Yeah, so there was similar rumors to the Weinstein case with jurors as well. Okay, let's go into the last article of the day.
Hold on. Okay. So from the AP, Trump suggests he'll extend deadline for TikTok's Chinese owner to sell app.
And I'm just keeping an update on this article. We keep talking about it. Trump keeps making extending the deadline. A lot of people saying this is the last one. That's what we thought about the last one. So I'm just going to be interested in what does happen to this, especially with what's going on overseas in the Middle East. Censorship is going to become an issue again, just like it was in the Jibby Jab era, but it's going to be going the opposite way perhaps this time. So,
yeah. And he kind of has his hands full right now with other stuff that are slightly more important than TikTok. For me, getting rid of TikTok entirely is the most important thing, because that's how a lot of this other stuff, like the protests, like everything we've seen lately, and commentary that keeps changing upon the narratives, festers. But
also, I think he wanted the 6-month extension for the Chinese tariff deal. If you had heard that they came to an agreement with the tariff deal, no, it was a compromise short-term agreement. This may have been included in this. I'm not too sure, but so that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in for all your pop culture news every day at noon Central. We'll be back right here with Nat and the Guy live at 9:15 Central. And we have a secondary station called Nat and the Guy in Espanol. And you have a show?
yes, 8 p.m. Central Time, all in Spanish.
Okay. Adios.
Have a good day.